How am I coming through? All right.
Yeah, you're coming through just fine.
Welcome to the Bow Hunters of Wyoming.
So yeah, we'll just kind of start going whenever. I'm already recording, so I'll cut this stuff out in the beginning, but figured we'd just get it going so I don't forget to hit record, because the last thing I want to do is talk to you for an hour and then realize I never hit the record button.
Yeah, I tend to do that when I'm filming people hunting. I'll be recording, get all excited because stuff's happening, and I hit it again and stop the recording and still think I have it all.
This is your campfire.
So I'm not the only one.
This is your crew. This is your podcast.
Sounds good. Well, thank you, Ron, for hopping on the podcast. For everyone who's out there listening, today we have a very special guest who really needs no introduction, Ron Niziolek himself. Ron, thanks for agreeing to jump on the podcast to talk to us.
Happy to do it, Alex.
Yeah, what I like to tell our listeners is that no one knows you as well as you. So if you wouldn't mind just taking a moment to kind of introduce yourself, tell us about your bow hunting history and your involvement with bow.
Well, guess I grew up back in Connecticut and bought myself a bow when I was 14 years old from a hardware store. Knew nothing about it, but just thought it'd be cool after looking at Outdoor Life, Field and Stream, and seeing some Fred Bear stuff. I thought, I don't know, I've always had an interest in the outdoors and hunting, and that just seemed to be the way to go. None of my family hunted. I didn't know anybody that hunted, so it was all learn as I went type of a thing. And moved to Cody when I was 18 after a year at UConn, and that's when met my wife then, and her brother was just getting into bow hunting, so we kind of learned it together. And I've been doing it ever since and get as involved as I can be. I've been pretty much from Arizona to Alaska and from the Midwest all the way to the West Coast, bow hunting. A couple of Canadian provinces. And I think I shot my first nice elk back around 1990. And that's when I first heard about BOW and joined up. And I'm not sure exactly the year, but it was somewhere back around then. And through the years, I've been the newsletter editor. That was probably my longest stint, and then was vice president for a couple of years, and I think president for a couple. And I still am involved a little bit, but I figure it's time for some new younger blood like you guys have the passion and the energy for it to take over everything. And from what I've seen, everything's been going really well.
Yeah, we're really fortunate, I think, Ron, to have the organization we have, and then to have people like you who've got us to where we're at now. So I just hope we can continue to kind of carry that legacy going forward and make you guys proud and continue to keep doing what we're doing with bow. So, I mean, with all that being said, Ron, I'm super excited to ask you about, the 10 that was done this year. And for those that don't know, Ron is the first bow hunter in history to harvest all 10 fair chase big game species in Wyoming. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, prior to August of this year, 5 bow hunters had taken 9 out of the 10. Is that right?
Yes. Yep. Sam Davis, Brett Ritter, Dan White, and Craig Germont.
Awesome. Yeah, and I was talking to Craig a lot this year. He was out running around looking for moose, and Craig's one hell of a bow hunter too. Oh, they all are.
They all are. And honestly, the 10, it's kind of special to get there. I never thought I would, but honestly, it's drawing the tag that does it. There isn't any one of those other bow hunters, or pretty much any bow hunter and bow hunters of Wyoming, that couldn't have gotten it done. I just, it boils down to luck and drawing a tag. And I think the other guys, everybody needs a mountain goat except for Craig, and he needs a bison.
So all mountain goat, and then Craig's at the bison. Ron, I think it's pretty awesome how modest you are about it, but I think there's more to it. There's got to be a lot of work that went into that, and a lot of dedication, right? Instead of going after, maybe like my example is, I always want to hunt elk, and I always tell myself, oh, this year I'm going to shoot a Pope and Young mule deer, and then I hear an elk bugle and I forget all about that goal, and then I go chase elk. And then the next year, the same thing. And the next year, the same thing. Was it ever difficult to kind of prioritize a hunt and say, okay, this year I'm going after, let's say, I don't know, name a species and just make that your priority? Or did it all happen kind of organically?
Organically. And honestly, I'm like you. Everything takes a backseat to elk. I don't
Okay.
really care. And so one of my animals, Bighorn Sheep, I killed one, the last animal, with a rifle in 1993. I had a sheep tag and I hunted like 27 days with my bow. And it was middle October. And I borrowed a 243 from a buddy because didn't own a rifle. And I was out solo by myself, and I drove up to where I could glass a big mesa, and I spotted a legal ram. Back then, it had to be 3/4 curl. It wasn't any ram like it is now. So anyway, I debated, what do I do? Do I take a gun? Because couldn't carry both up there.
Right.
And so gun or bow, gun or bow. And I was tired. I knew my wife was tired. And back then there's no points for sheep either. So this might have been my last sheep tag. So I caved and took the rifle and I shot that ram at 30 yards with the 243. And it was cool to get a ram, but it was something I looked at on the wall for all these years. Yeah, he looked cool, but I knew it was a rifle kill, and um, it didn't mean as much. I was happy to have it. It was a pretty cool accomplishment after all that time, but it was bittersweet. So in 2015, I drew another tag, and same unit, and I shot it with my bow because it was going to be archery, or I would eat the tag. There was
Right.
no other option. It was kind of cool because I shot it on the same ridge as the one 22 years earlier, almost to the day. In fact, I packed the rest of him out the following day, and it was 22 years to the day.
I'll be
A
damned.
little bit higher up on the ridge, it was a lot tougher to get to it and to get him out. But did it solo with my bow, and yeah, that one meant a lot.
Yeah, that's a hell of an accomplishment, solo with your bow. And I would imagine you were quite a ways back, yeah?
Yeah, it wasn't that far back per se, but the route I had to take to get to it was about a 5 mile jaunt. After I got him, I could come, kind of straight down the mountain. So it's probably only like 2.5 or so. But to get the wind right and everything, I did a big circle to get above him and come down. So it was, it was quite a day. 2 days.
Yeah, 5 miles is no joke when you're up in that country. Or even if you're not up in that country, 5 miles is still 5 miles. Were there any other hunts like that sheep where you had gone with the rifle first and you ended up in bow range, and after it was said and done, you were kind of like, oh man, that could have worked with a bow? Or was that the only
No,
one?
that was pretty much the only one. When I first moved here, I hunted with a bow. I shot a deer, and I've never shot a bull elk with a bow. I've shot a few cows I just call it grocery shopping.
Yeah.
It's nice to have elk in the freezer, but um, no, I've never shot another antlered animal with a rifle.
That's awesome. Where did you move from, Ron?
Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
I grew up on the East Coast and had an aunt and uncle and cousin moved to Cody way back mid 70s. And I spent the summer out here in Cody when I was 14, freshman in high school, and just fell in love. Tried to talk my parents into moving at that time, and because they were getting sick of the rat race back there too. And anyway, they wanted us to kind of finish up. I have an older brother, a couple of years, and they wanted us to finish up high school at least where we were. Um, so then when I was 14 or 16, I bought myself a bus ticket and took a 50-hour bus ride to get to Cody and worked for the summer and bought another bus ticket back and lived with my aunt and uncle at the time. And they're pretty accommodating to have me do that. And then I went to a year of Yukon and my folks were done and 40 years old. We just packed up whatever would fit in the van and sold everything else and moved west.
That's awesome. And never look back, I take it.
No.
So you were 14 when you bought the bus ticket? Had you just hopped on a 50-hour bus ride to get back to Cody?
Nope, I was 16 on that one.
16.
14, I came out. Yeah, I came out with an aunt and uncle for the summer.
I'll be darned. Boy, I can't imagine many kids are doing that anymore nowadays.
Oh, no. When I was 14, me and a buddy, we rode our bikes to Canada and back. And yeah, parents just aren't going to let kids do that
Not
nowadays.
anymore.
No.
That's a pretty cool story, Rod. I didn't know you were from Connecticut. Did you hunt back there at all when you were a kid, like whitetail?
Maybe illegally.
Hey,
I didn't know anything about it.
My jurisdiction doesn't count in Connecticut, so you're fine.
I didn't know anything about it, honestly. When I bought that bow and 6 fiberglass arrows, and then got a few broadheads in the fall, and I went and sat up in a tree several times that year. And yeah, I thought I was a big time hunter. Never saw a deer.
I think that's kind of how we all started, or at least me, right? Sat in the tree and did the things and did the stuff. You were a big deal hunter, but never killed anything. I spent a lot of time in that phase, I can admit.
The small game animals, though, squirrels and bunnies.
That's how you hone the skills, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot to be said for that. When it comes to the 10, well, I guess the Wyoming Slam is the proper terminology. I should probably get that squared away. Did there ever become a point, because I'm assuming you just kind of started hunting, taking animals, and it started organically. Was there ever a point where you started thinking pretty seriously that, hey, I might be able to do this. I might be able to knock the Wyoming Slam out?
Only when I had 9 of them. Up until then, it was just, when I first started hunting here, it was deer, elk, and antelope, and that's all I had vacation for. A couple weeks of vacation a year doesn't get you a whole lot, but I sure honed my skills on deer, elk, and antelope, and the rest of it just kind of came along as chance allowed it or tags allowed. And honestly, it was just something. I never thought I'd get a bison tag for one. I knew I would eventually get another sheep tag, although I was, a few points behind everybody else, because I'd shot one in 93. They started points in 95. So I knew I'd eventually get another tag. But the bison and the mountain goats, those are all just random draws. And the mountain goat, that's pretty much astronomical odds to draw one of those tags. So no, I never thought I would get it. Once I was at 9, I think my sheep was the 9th animal, the bison was the 8th, and moose or mountain lion was probably the 7th.
I think that makes the accomplishment that much cooler, to know that when you say it was organic, it was truly organic, where I would imagine some people might, say, hey, my goal is to get the Wyoming 10, and I'm going to focus on the Wyoming 10 and do what I have to do to distribute, my hunting efforts. But to kind of wait until the 9 are down and then kind of realize how close you are, I think that's a pretty neat way to do it. So
and honestly, with the mountain goat, even once I had the tag, I knew the possibility for 10 was there, and I was actually confident enough to think that I would get it done. But that wasn't the reason. Yeah, I might have been able to do a different area or hunt differently than I did, but part of the mountain goat allure for me was to hunt them up in the alpine country. And there's some pretty cool, really nasty country around here that I think, nobody else might have been in. And I would have had a good chance at filling the tag, maybe quicker, maybe bigger animal and stuff. But I just wanted to do it up there in the alpine. So it was doing it up there and with some friends that was important, not getting the 10.
I like that because from what you're telling me, Ron, you probably could have done it a little quicker down lower, maybe a different animal. But for you, it wasn't about just checking a box off the list and saying, I got the 10, this is my last animal. It was more about the hunt and the adventure and getting up into the alpine, kind of the whole package.
Yeah. And I struggled a lot with the hunt. I guess we can go through that if you want to hear the boring story, but
I highly doubt it's boring, Ron.
oh, it's pretty boring. So I've had chronic health issues, been in a couple of major car wrecks, and I've had multiple surgeries, um, back surgeries, probably the most significant ones. Long history with that, and for whatever reason this year everything just hit pretty hard. So, I had the tag, so I was all excited to get after it, get in really good shape, learn the countries, find a half dozen target goats that I wanted to go after. And once I screwed up on one, I'd go to the next one, mess that up, go to the next, and on we go. So, but I had pretty severe back issues this year. My stupid left knee, which is my good knee, my other one's had 5 surgeries on. My left one didn't have any, but that one was really giving me fits this year. And then, I did a big long hike in rubber boots this spring after black bears and managed to give myself that plantar fasciitis.
That is painful.
And oh man, that was pretty severe. So between my feet and my stupid knee, I I spent time this summer walking my dog by kicking her out of the truck and driving next to her because I didn't even want to walk across the house. Never mind go hiking anywhere.
Right.
So that was a pretty significant challenge when it came to scouting. I still spent over 20 days up there scouting. Um, Mostly solo. Had a few people go with me at different times. My dog liked going because she likes to chase marmots.
Yeah.
So anyway, had a good time and actually did see quite a few goats. But the longer the summer went, the fewer goats I was able to keep tabs on. So that got a little difficult. So anyway, but I did spend a lot of time out there. I just wasn't able to hike near as much as I wanted to. So when the hunt time came, I had offers from several people that they'd be happy to come help, and the ones but I know how it is. You only have so much time to do stuff, and I was more concerned with everybody else getting to hunt for their own animals in August, predominantly antelope.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to fill my tag in August so I could have September for elk like it's supposed to be.
Like it's meant to be, yeah.
Yeah, but no matter what happened, I figured I would take August 15th to the end of October if that's what it took.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Blake Smith from here in Cody came up and volunteered time and spent a week with me, as did Randy Giese from Sheridan. And my nephew came up. My nephew Sam was up there for the first day. And so we all get there, and I'm telling them this first day it's going to be pretty laid back. We're going to take it easy. We're just going to do a lot of glassing. Well, my nephew ended up spotting some goats about 3 miles away, and we weren't seeing much else. So it's like, well, and I'd been there during the summer scouting. That was one of my spots, but it's a long jaunt to get out there. When
Yeah.
I'm saying 3 miles, that's 3 air miles.
Yeah.
So
that's not a walking
anyway,
trail.
Yeah, our easy first day turned out to be a 10-miler round trip, and we got close, and I messed that one up. So there was 4 goats, and we from 3 miles away, even through a scope, they're pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
So we closed the gap about halfway and looked at them again, and we could tell like there was a kid in the bunch. So it's probably a group of nannies with one kid. So on our way getting there, we had to circle around for the wind. It's like, well, since we're over here, let's look at this other drainage and see what we can find. So essentially, we wasted time looking in that other spot and then wrapped around the hill and just starting to cut across country to where these other goats were bedded up. Well, they decided to get up and come out in the wide open alpine and up in the tundra. So we got caught like halfway to them, couple 300 yards away. And we thought they were going to go to this one little spring that's there. So my nephew and I started beating feet to get down there and cut them off. Well, something I didn't realize about goats is they just like to go on walkabouts for no reason whatsoever. And they didn't come to water like we thought. They just walked clear to the end of the mesa and disappeared. We even went out there and never turned them up.
Oh, really? So
And
they moved.
yeah, they moved. But it turns out there was a ginormous billy in the bunch. So screwed the pooch. If I could have done what I normally do when I see an animal or something I'm interested in, I just go. Cutting the distance is 3/4 of the battle. And I didn't do that. And I think it probably cost me a pretty good potential opportunity.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. The cutting the distance is 3/4 of the battle, because sometimes it seems like people hesitate or wait or say, I'll go back in the morning. Do you find it best to just cut that distance as soon as you have a feasible opportunity, whether it's goats or elk or anything else?
100%. Yep. Like I said, 3/4 of the battle, I think, is closing the gap. Because if you close that gap and you get in close, no matter what animal it is, the radius that they can take to get away from you just shrinks enormously. And I don't know, you're just in a better position to make a final move, or you never know, they might get up or move right to you. If you're camped out a half mile or a mile away, you're not going to have a very good chance.
No, seems like that's one of the surefire ways to increase your odds. And you brought up a good point. You're restricting avenues of escape the closer you get. So was that day one, Ron?
Yeah, that was day one. That was August 15th.
I'll be damned. So then what happened? So we had day one, didn't go exactly the way you planned. Then it turned into a grind.
It turned into a grind. For one, finding goats. Two, finding goats in a stalkable position. Some of the country they were in, it's just like I might be able to get to them without dying, but there's going to be nothing left of the goat after I shoot them, because they're just going to bail off a cliff, and it'll take a day or two to go around and find whatever's left of them. So, yeah, finding them in a huntable spot got tough. And, whether it's just, I was up in the Beartooth Mountains, and there's an obscene amount of tourists up there, and they're all hiking all over the place, a lot of traffic, and getting away from people was tough. And then it just got hard finding goats. I think on day 4, we found one. Didn't think. Well, I thought it was in a stalkable spot. Randy and Blake did not think so. They moved a little bit closer while I was getting the scope on this goat, and he was a pretty good one. So they finally came back and said, "I think you can get to him." I'm like, that's what I was thinking anyway. With or without your guys' blessing, I pretty much can go. So they stayed put, and I went kind of around the mountain, and came basically straight across the canyon from them. And I was coming down on top of where this goat was, and I couldn't see the goat because it was so steep, and he was, under cliffs below me. And it was honestly a worse place than I thought it would be. I struggle a little bit with vertigo, not near as bad as Randy's going through right now, but
Okay.
and the older I get, the less I like heights anyway.
Right.
There's a few sketchy spots when I'm going down this cliffy area to get to where he's at, and I was getting hand signals from those guys. But I got down. I knew I was close. Like, I knew I was really close. and I couldn't go any farther. And pretty soon he wanders out from under the cliff that's right below me. It's kind of ledges going down.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, let's just say I proceeded to miss that goat 3 times.
Was it the angle, the steepness of the angle?
Part of it was angle, steepness. My rangefinder would say 30 or 35 yards, but honestly, he looked like he was 80. I think, because the rangefinder set the horizontal distance,
Right.
the hypotenuse of that angle, and I think that got in my head quite a bit. I can't believe he looks that small. It's maybe the back of my mind. It's going to be hard to hit, but I airballed him, and the first shot I knew went over.
Yeah.
And then he moved out a little bit more, got a range on him, and I shot, and it looked like it was going perfect. It sounded perfect, but he disappeared. And then I'm like, my hands are in the air. Did I hit him? Did I not? But he came out again from under a little ledge, and I shot the third time. Same thing. I thought I drilled him. It
Oh,
looked
really?
good. It sounded good, but no dice. He wandered off, and his white coat was pristine. So he got, I forget what we nicknamed him, but I changed it to Lucky.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty apt name. I guess that is nice with the white coat. You can see whether you hit or not, but
Oh yeah, and plus, we're 2 different vantage points. Those guys were across, and they had a spotting scope, and
oh,
they
right.
could check him out really good. But I could honestly see him just fine with my binoculars, and he didn't have a scratch on him.
Yeah,
So,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Ron.
I was just gonna say, and then after that, it got really difficult finding. We could find some smaller billies. Chose not to stalk any of them because I had a lot of time coming up. But the longer it went on, the worse my knee was, the worse my feet were, and every step just sucked. It was painful. So, and I was worried about these guys spending all their antelope hunting time with me mountain goat hunting, and
Uh-huh.
so all that's in the back of my mind. And we struggled for a few days. Closed the gap on a few goats only to find out they're, a little bit smaller than what we thought. So we backed out. And then I forget what day it is, day 9 or whatever it was. Old Lucky's back in the same spot.
Ah.
And we hadn't seen him at all in between. Like, we don't know where he went. And except, there's just goats moving around all the time. And it's crazy. You could watch them, and you'd leave to go look at another spot, come back, and they disappeared off the face of the earth. You couldn't turn them up anywhere. It's like they're feeding, and then all of a sudden they'll go walk for a mile.
Almost like there's no rhyme or reason to it.
No, there wasn't. It's like turkeys, trying to figure out turkeys where they're going to go next. So anyway, so there he is on, later on, and he's in basically the same exact spot, bedded down. So I thought, well, here we go. Blake was back in Cody for the weekend. So it was just Randy and myself. So I started up that side of the mountain. Randy went across the canyon, and I started down on top of this goat. And I knew where he was, like exactly this go round. So I positioned myself. I'm like, I'm within 20 yards. Like, I am right above this goat, but he's tucked under the cliff below me. And I sat there for over 2 hours just waiting for him to get up. Well, I was standing most of the time, which isn't good for my back at all,
No.
standing. So I'd do that, and I'd, kind of lean back against the cliff and take some weight off. But I was there for a long time waiting for Lucky to be unlucky. And hey, I started hearing some rocks up above me rolling. And like, that's weird, but I could never see anything. I heard it 2 or 3 times, and then when I heard it again, I looked back. Well, here comes this mountain goat down through the rocks and the ledges, like right to me. When I saw him, he's maybe 25 yards.
Oh, so he's close.
So of course, he's close. So I'm glassing him really tight because I'm like, did Lucky get up and get under this ledge and circle around? And is that him coming back? But I quickly determined it wasn't. It's a definitely smaller goat
Mm-hmm.
than Lucky is. So I put my bow down and I got my phone out, and this goat just kept coming. And he saw me moving, and he walked up to about 3 yards.
Ah,
So I've got video of him from 3 yards away, and he's checking me out. And then, of course, all this time, I'm like, my back sucks, my feet suck, my knees suck. I'm keeping friends from their hunt. September's coming up. It's all just whirring through my head.
mm-hmm.
I passed up lots of goats his size. But at the same time, a bird in the hand type of a thing. I've got a big one below me, but I don't know if I'm going to get a shot at him. I think I
Right.
will, but I'm not positive. Anyway, just all these factors are going through my head in a matter of 30 seconds. And he started walking, and I was still running the video. And I just thought, you know what? I've got to hunt with friends. I'm up in the Alpine. It's been as fun as it could be the way I feel. And I'm kind of ready to give my feet and my knee a break. And, basically, I had the adventure. So the size was just a
bonus at that point.
byproduct. I'm not a trophy hunter. I like shooting big animals too. But just the way everything played out, I thought, you know what? If he stands there and I put my phone down and grab my bow, I'm going to shoot him. And he did. So
Heck
I
yeah.
shot him at about 4 yards, and he went 10 yards and tipped over, and that was it.
I'll be damned. So you didn't have to worry
Yeah.
about him crashing off the cliff.
Oh, I did, but he didn't make it. He flipped over backwards and got wedged in between two boulders, which saved him from going a few hundred feet.
Oh, so he was right about to tip over. So
Yeah, and honestly, if I would have shot Lucky down below me, he probably would have done a heck of a tumble. We still could have recovered him. I'm positive of that.
yeah.
There was a talus slide, kind of a ravine that I'm pretty sure we could pick our way down and get to him. And hopefully they wouldn't be too busted up, but didn't have to worry about that. Then it became a problem of getting over to him, even though he's only 10 or 15 yards away, was actually physically getting to where he was. That was a little sketchy, but I went over, checked him out, knelt with him for a minute, kind of like I do with all animals.
Uh-huh.
And then I hiked back out of there to meet up with Randy, get a drink, get some food, and come back and pack him out.
Mm-hmm.
And so Randy and I hike back up and around the mountain, and we start breaking over to this goat with our frame packs and stuff. And Randy gets his bout of vertigo, and he couldn't go. Like he tried whatever he could, and it's like it wasn't going to work. And we weren't even to the steep part yet.
That vertigo is something else. When it hits, boy, there's not a whole lot you can do.
Yeah, he's had some pretty major bouts with it. So it's like, well, this is going to suck, because I take pride in getting good photographs. To me, that's as valuable as the animal head or mount themselves. I love good photos.
Oh, 100%.
So I knew that was going to be a challenge. So I made it back down to the goat. I had left my bow there and everything, and it's like the only place I could take a picture without falling off the mountain was where I shot from. So luckily it was a small goat. So I took my time, and I was able to kind of drag him, lift him, and grunt, just a little bit at a time, and get him back over to the flat spot where I was standing when I shot.
Uh-huh.
But then it became a challenge getting the tripod set up. But I did that, had my phone on there, set the timer. 10 seconds wasn't long enough for me to go just 3 or 4 yards to get set up behind the goat to take pictures. because I was gonna end up falling. So I
Right.
put it on video. I just started recording the video and went over there and figured I'd pull stills off of later, and that's what I ended up doing.
Oh,
So I
that's a
got him.
smart way to do it.
Yeah, that's the only way I could do it because it was gonna be bad if I kept trying to set the timer and get over there behind him. So I passed on doing that and just did the video.
Well, I'm glad you did
Anyway, I
because he
got him
didn't fall off the mountain.
pretty much. Got him skinned up. Got the quarters in my pack, and basically crawled up out of there. It's way different. I mean, it was sketchy going, without a full pack or anything
Mm-hmm.
down there. Coming back up, it was scary. Just I held onto the mountain a lot when I was getting back up to where Randy was. So I took him up the load of meat, and then I went back down to get the finish, keeping him out and
Right.
getting the hide, getting my bow and all my stuff packed up, and bring the last load up, and yeah, it was. I was quite relieved when I got back up to where Randy was. Yeah, I was on my knees for a little while there. Just
Oh,
gratitude that I made it. I was done, did everything that I wanted to do. A little more than I wanted to do, actually. It was probably not a great spot to be, but anyway, I survived.
no, and for those who have never hunted in goat country or in high country, man, it's a different ball game, especially when you get to true goat country. It's different when you're, say, in the Madres or the Snowies or the Bighorns and you're hunting elk, and basically anywhere you look, you can get to within a relatively short amount of time. But once you're up in country like that, Ron, that you're describing, it takes a long, long time to go a short ways. And even then, sometimes it's just not feasible to even make it or safe.
It's true. Yeah, to do it safely is and I hunted mountain goats. I applied for goats in or Idaho 1 year, way back early '90s,
Mm-hmm.
and I drew a tag my first year applying.
Oh, really?
And I was young and dumb, and I got myself into some situations there that I swore I would never get in, and I haven't. But I pushed it pretty good with um, going down and trying to get to where Lucky was hanging out on the side of the mountain. Um, I pushed my limits pretty good.
Were there ever any spots, Ron, where you maybe dropped in and said, "Man, I don't know if I can make it back out of here," or did you play that card pretty safe?
I played that pretty safe overall. I went right to the edge of some of those places, and I was looking down on some goats and stuff, and it's like can't can't do it. I'm not going to do it. I might have been able to do it, but I also might have died. And yeah, I just backed out of those situations.
Oh, good, because the trophy doesn't do any good if you die. I mean, it kind of defeats
Not
the
really.
purpose.
No. But after those misses, I thought, maybe I'd have to get in one of those spots again and just jump off with an arrow in my hand.
I'm glad you didn't get to that level, Ron. I feel like that would have been a bit desperate but exciting at the same time.
So
What?
anyway, that was the goat adventure. A lot smaller than what I wanted. I did not purposely go stalk that goat. Passed up something about that size or a little bigger. It just the way it all worked out. In those few seconds, half a minute, whatever I had to decide, I decided to go ahead and take that goat, and I'm happy with him. So
Yeah, that's what matters. I mean, so much of it is the adventure behind it and the grind and the work and the scouting and everything coming together in that one moment. And I think it's really neat that you're able to recognize that, because some people get really wrapped up around animal size. And if you'd ever look at my shop wall, you can tell that I'm not one of those people. I get just as fired up over depending on the unit I'm in, a raghorn coming in as I do a 6-point. It's all fun for me.
yep. And I spent most of my years bow hunting in that same boat, and I still am to some extent. It's some hunts you might have a good tag, a good area, a good state.
Mm-hmm.
So you focus on bigger animals, but there's some other ones where you're just with buddies, or it's more relaxed atmosphere, and whatever goes. You kind of take what the area has to offer, and plenty happy with it.
Yeah, I think that's such a good mindset, and I wish more people kind of encapsulated that. And I know my rule of thumb is kind of, boy, if it gets my heart pumping and gets me excited, then it's a trophy. And then I come home with a 4-point or a 5-point skull plate. But I really don't care because I'm having fun. This year I was a little luckier. I had the 2 tags, so I was able to say, okay, one of these tags I'm going to hold out for a nicer one and keep my bloodlust locked in a little bit. Man, Ron, I mean, I gotta say, how many days total was the hunt before I go on any further? Was it 9, did you say?
I think it was 9.
All straight? When we first started, you're super modest and you said, anyone can do it and it's a matter of getting the tag. Ron, with the health things you had, the knee and the back, 9 straight days hunting can turn into a grind really quick in the best of conditions, in good health, in an easy area. But when you talk about 9 straight days in the Alpine chasing goats in that kind of country with the pain you were going through, I think I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. I think that's a hell of an accomplishment because that can turn into a mental game fast.
Oh, it did. Again, I was wondering. I was to the point wondering how many more days I was going to be able to do. And, like I said, there's a lot of factors that came into play, and my buddy's their hunting time was a big part of it. Just feeling guilty. It's great to have people there, but at the same time, I always think, I hunt by myself a lot, and I enjoy it. It's fun to share camp and stuff with people. Definitely. And it was fun to have those guys along, but there's a guilty feeling that I get when I know people have their own tags, but yet they're helping me out.
Yeah, and you're not alone there, and it's kind of funny you bring it up. We were talking earlier. I hunted with Hayden Meeks this year, and him and I were hunting together. And opening morning, he went and chased a deer where he's from, and I was hunting elk at our elk camp, and he was going to meet me that afternoon. And I happened to shoot that elk. Well, I shot an elk opening morning. That's never happened before, but I was tagged out by 7:30, and never in my life did I think that would happen. But anyways, I tagged out, and I called Hayden and let him know and kind of said, hey, what time are you coming to camp? Where am I going to meet you? And Hayden's the same way you are. He said, oh man, I know you have a Colorado tag. You don't have to stick around. I don't want to take up your hunting time. And I said, no, I love just being out there hunting with people, whether I've got the tag or they got the tag. I like watching people shoot animals. I like watching them hit the ground. I like watching people get excited. So, but I know Hayden, I think we spent maybe it was another 4 or 5 days hunting before Hayden tagged out on his bull. And he was saying the same thing, I feel guilty. You're not hunting your Colorado bull. You're up here. Yeah. And it's like, no, Hayden, this is awesome. I've got no pressure because my tag's filled and I get to call and interact with elk and watch all these animals and watch you hunt. Man, that's almost as fun as hunting itself. And when he got to shoot his elk, I got to watch the whole thing. God, I might have been more excited or nervous watching that than I was on my own elk.
That's how I get. And I spend a lot of time with other people on their hunts, and I never feel like I'm really missing out on mine. I'm kind of the same mindset as you are, but I have a hard time recognizing that in other people that they might be feeling the same way.
Right. Because you don't want to assume, right? You just don't want to assume they're the same way you are. And Hayden's super, super good dude to hunt with. And I had to keep, reassuring him, no, this is cool. Let's keep hunting until you get one. Colorado will still be there. I got time. Let's make it happen because it's, there's only so many Septembers left, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think it was great because I saw a picture of your bull probably before most people saw
Yeah.
your bull because we were down there at Hayden's place at the time.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you were getting it live updates. Yeah, that was cool. And one of the fun I like to talk about, obviously, bow hunters of Wyoming while we're on this podcast. And I don't, if it wasn't for bow, I would have never hunted with Hayden. And I met Hayden through bow, and man, we talk every day. And I've always been a big solo hunter. The vast majority of my hunting I've done by myself. And it was sure a lot of fun to have someone out there and watch them be successful. And it was just a lot of fun. And I'm sure Randy and Blake were the same way, with you and your
Oh, I
goat
think
hunt.
so. Blake was upset that I got done before he got a chance to get back up there.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he's a pack mule. It would have been great to have him there too.
Yeah, because is that Blake with Yellowstone? Yeah. Oh, yeah, he looks like he could pack some meat out.
Oh, he can.
Especially
I've
out of
seen
that
him
country.
Pack 2 hindquarters of a bull elk at one time. So yeah, he's good to have around.
Ah, boy, and anyone who's done that, that's no light task.
No, not at all.
So, Ron, I realized I totally overlooked the animals in the Big Ten. So for our listeners, for the Wyoming Slam, just so everyone knows, the 10 Wyoming fair chase species are mule deer, whitetail deer, pronghorn, bighorn sheep, Shiras moose, bison, American elk, mountain lion, black bear, and mountain goat. And when we look back on that list, Ron, are there any other animals that stand out of those 10 that you remember going, oh man, that was an awesome hunt, or that was a really hard hunt?
Yeah, there's been some hard ones. Mountain lion hunts are always tough, no matter where you are. The majority of the time, I know people get lucky and drive a road and see lion tracks. Oh, there's a kill, and a fat cat gets up and goes 200 yards and climbs a tree, and that has not been my experience. So those are always tough. One of the hardest ones I had was for my first Shiras moose. I've taken 2 in the state, and I'm all done now.
Uh-huh.
But my first one was back in like 2000, I believe, and we were down the Hoback River country and hunted hard. And I think it was our 5th day, and we finally spotted a bull. We were hunting, my brother-in-law and I were kind of going into the same place, but we took different paths to get there. He circled around wide, I cut up and over so I could do some glassing, and spotted a bull moose walking across the other side of the drainage, and he was heading towards the saddle. So I just took off, running down my side of the mountain, waded the river, and was getting ready to go up the other side. And my brother-in-law showed up. He had seen the same moose, so we both were heading for it, and we just happened to meet up at the same time, even though we came from about a mile different places.
Uh-huh.
So we climbed up that mountain as quick as we could, and we just got lucky because the bull would have beat us by a long shot, but he bedded down right in that little saddle. So gave him the first option for a shot. So he snuck around to the right. I went to the left. We could see each other, and he got as far as he could. He didn't have a good angle on it. And I was able to crawl up within 40 yards from the way I was going, and I shot him and hit him good. He ran 60 yards, and he was standing kind of spraddle-legged, facing uphill. It was really, really steep side hill.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, he dropped to his knees, and he stood back up quick and just did a backflip and disappeared. And there was an avalanche chute that he was at the top of. And it was one of the coolest things I ever listened to in my life, because you could just hear him tumbling. We couldn't see him anymore after that first flip, but you could just hear the rocks and everything, him flipping down the side of the mountain. And then the dust started coming up on the thermals.
Oh.
And so we've got this big cloud of dust coming up the mountain. Couldn't see the moose at all anymore. And we walked over to where he was standing and looked down, and you could see 1,000 vertical feet and couldn't see him, even through binoculars. And anyway, we worked our way down through there and found him, and he was done. And couldn't take pictures because he was trying to slide down the mountain some more. So it's like, and the river's down at the bottom. It's like, well, he didn't break it. He broke one point off of his antlers when he was flipping down 1,000 feet or 700 feet, whatever he did. So we just got out of his way and kicked him the rest of the way down. And then it was easier for photos and easier to work on him down there. And just we're able to put the meat, right into the river to cool off. So it worked out okay, but it was quite the sight watching him do a backflip and disappear and then listen to it.
Oh, I bet. So you knocked him all the way down to did he break any other points off?
No, not at all.
Oh, that worked out
Nope.
perfect.
Tenderized him pretty good.
Now I bet half the work's done.
Yep.
How far was that pack out?
Steve Martin was there. Rob
Oh, nice.
Another BOW guy was there. And Steve had horses there to help Rod out. So
okay.
5 miles back into this place. And so we were able to take a little bit out with us. And Steve said to come look him up. So we did. And we walked back in there with his horses and had a pretty good rodeo. Got everything loaded up, and we were leading the horses out, and I waded the river, and I was going up this steep slope where Steve had just gone, and the horse I was leading dropped a foot off the edge of the bank. It was steep, and just did a backflip and landed out in the river. And its head was going underwater. So I ran out in the river, and I'm trying to hold the horse's head up, and Steve got a knife out and threw it to me, and I cut all the rope off, and the meat goes floating down the river. And yeah, it was pretty Western there for a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that's a bit of an understatement. That does sound pretty Western.
So we got the meat gathered up and over in a pool where it wasn't going to float away. And then we hiked out leading the horses. We didn't reload that horse. Of course, we didn't have the rope to do it either.
Right.
It was cut. And anyway, so we got that load out, and then we walked back in and got the load again. So I forget it. It was like a 20 some odd mile day. Pretty physical, pretty beat up by the horse. And yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah, I'll be damned. I'd say so. I like both of those guys a lot. Steve and Rod are good guys, and Rod's out in the neck of the woods. So yeah. Oh, sorry, Ron, go ahead.
No, I think there was at the time, I think there was 4 of us BOW members with moose tags in the same unit that year.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And Rod shot a moose a little bit later on.
Oh, so he was one of them with the tag?
Yes.
Did Steve have a tag too?
Nope, he was just there helping Rod out and helping us out.
Heck yeah. That's one of the really cool things about bow is it seems like everyone is super willing to jump in and help out, no matter how far the drive is, where the unit is, how bad the hike is. Seems like no matter what, everyone's just waiting to help.
It's true. It's pretty good family. Like, you mentioned meeting people and getting hunting partners and acquaintances out of the deal. And same here. It's been great as far as networking, finding out information, helping people out. If they've got a once in a lifetime tag, you're done, in your area or something, everybody's pretty willing to help out.
Yeah, they really are. And we all seem to share kind of a common, I guess, hunting style or hunting mentality, so to speak. I know Hayden and I talked about this quite a bit when we were at camp because finding a good hunting partner can be pretty tricky. It's like finding a good wife, right? Yeah, and when him and I went hunting, I had never hunted with him before, and I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go. I wasn't quite sure what his style was going to be, and we were on top of this knob overlooking this big drainage, and it was the first night, and he had just gotten into camp, and I said, hey, let's go, look for some elk or see what we can hear. And we got to the knob, we heard a bugle down low, and we maybe had 45 minutes of light left, maybe an hour. And I think most people in that situation would have said, we'll wait till morning or we'll put him to bed. And that's not quite my style. And I looked at Hayden and said, hey, do you want to go chase that bugle? And Hayden had no hesitation. Hell yeah, let's go chase that bugle. So we went and dropped off that knob and, with 45 minutes of light left, and we chased that. It ended up being a 5-point bull. We never quite could get a shot on it, but we got him in, called him in, and it's a bit of a dark, long hike out. But just that attitude was awesome to see. And that's when I knew, oh yeah, this is going to work out well. We're going to click pretty darn well.
Definitely. That's my mentality. One of my bull elk came from a situation like that. I got up the mountain pretty late and was doing some glassing, and I spotted a bull all by himself, and it had snowed. It was September 10th, and it had snowed already, and it was super cold. And this bull was all by himself across the lake and up about 1,000 vertical, and it was 6:30, and I'm by myself, and I'm thinking, oh man, I don't even know if I can get around there. I don't know if I can get up to him, but I think I can. So I took off and climbed as fast as my lungs would let me, and I got up to where he was, and he wasn't there, but his tracks were, and it was still light, and I just took off on a run on his tracks, which is luckily going side hill and not uphill. And I found a spot where he had stopped and raked a tree, and all the stuff was on top of the snow. And I just kept pushing another 100 yards, spotted him, snuck down through a little creek, and came up in range and shot him. Probably the last few minutes of daylight. But it's one of those. I don't know if I can make it, but I'm sure gonna give it a good try.
Oh, I love it.
It works.
Well, it's one of those things where I always say, I can't guarantee that I'm going to get a shot at that bull if I go chase it right now, but I can guarantee I won't get a shot at that bull if I don't chase it, or if I don't drop in, or if I don't make a move. And putting yourself in a position to just get the shot is, well, that's 90% of the battle, I'd say.
Yeah, it is. One of my sayings has always been, take chances to make chances. And
I like that.
It's paid off for me personally anyway, whether it's, being super aggressive or whether it's just taking a chance, not knowing if you can physically get to them or not before shooting light's over. So there's a couple of different ways to take chances there, but both of them tend to be on the aggressive side. So
yeah, or
it's worked.
Yes, work in just being willing to go where the elk are. Like that elk I shot in Colorado this year. My dad and I had found the spot because we heard elk bugling up there. We knew it was going to be an awful place to get to. It did turn out to be very awful to get to. And, I had someone else ask me, well, man, what are you going to do if you shoot a bull all the way back there? Well, I'll pack them out. I'm not worried about the pack out. I'll deal with that later.
Right.
Wherever the elk are, I'm going to go. And it was brutal. There was one section of a cliff we had to use a rope to lower ourselves down and climb back up, and not the smartest, thing I've ever done, but it resulted in an elk. So I definitely wouldn't change anything. But I think by the end of the day, gosh, I shot the elk at 7 a.m, and I think 6 p.m. was our last load of meat out. So I think it was,
that's a tough day.
yeah, I think it was 12 miles, all the trips in and out. So it was a long one, but I've noticed that with people, and not bow members or not the guys I've hunted with, but they'll say, well, I don't want to hunt there because, I don't want to pack one out of there. What do you think? Gosh, what do I think? That's the last thing I think about is the pack out.
Go kill one.
Yeah. I'll figure out the pack out once we kill one.
Right. I'll just call Blake.
There you go. I'm going to start doing that too.
Yeah, he's pretty much an animal. So where he killed a bull this year, it was back in there a ways, but the distance isn't so much the problem in there as the downfall.
Yeah.
88 from the 88 Yellowstone fires. We're not hunting Yellowstone, but I tell people we can do that. You don't even need a tag. But anyway, it's where the 88 fires came out of the park, and the blowdown is horrendous in there. We've spent several years with chainsaws up in there, cutting some trail, just so we can get through without having to climb over a log every 5 feet. I shot a bull elk up in there, and I'm pretty sure I was a legit 6 to 8 feet off the ground up on deadfalls.
I believe it.
It's a horrible spot, and getting Blake's bull out of there this year was you just you walk 3 steps and you're climbing over a big log or one way off the ground, or there's 3 of them kind of crisscrossed, and you just gotta fight your way through it. And it was miserable, even though we only had not even a half mile to get back to where we had cut some of these trees out of there. But
I would
the elk love it.
and I would gladly double the distance if it meant getting rid of the deadfall.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because you are speaking my language in our neck of the woods down here. Deadfall is king. In my Wyoming bull this year, I was in a clearing above a big timbered patch on a pretty big ravine, and I shot him, and he ran into that ravine and died, and I had a pretty good idea it was going to be miserable. When I got to the bull, I almost walked over him because he was so tangled up in the deadfall, and I couldn't even move him or get to him, so I had to take my folding saw out and cut a path into the bull, and then cut enough sticks and deadfall out from around him so I could actually start working on him. It was miserable.
Sounds like a worse spot than I've been in before.
Yeah, if I could not replicate that exact spot, I would gladly not do that. But at the end of the day, I'll do whatever I have to get that animal on the ground. Well, shoot, Ron, I don't want to take up your whole night because I easily could.
I know, this has been great.
Yeah, I really appreciate you hopping on. And is there any advice or wisdom or anything you want to share before we hop off that you would share with any other hunter, whether they're new or experienced? Anything you got that would come to mind before I finally let you go and quit holding you hostage here?
Kind of like what we just talked about a little bit. Take chances to make chances. The more you screw up, the more you learn, for one. So don't be afraid of messing up, because I learn stuff every year, and half of what I learn, I've already learned for the last 10 years. I just do the same dumb mistake over and over again. So don't be afraid to mess up. Just like you say, if there's a chance you can get to whatever animal you're after, you think you can get there before dark, or you think you can physically get there, period, do it. Be aggressive, especially when it comes to elk. You can get away with murder when you're movement wise. Of course, I'm talking more open type elk country in the timber. They're pretty savvy.
Yeah.
So pick you up. But as far as if you've got you see an elk out there at 600 yards and it's fairly open, shoot, just walk at them slow. Just go straight at them. Don't go sideways. They'll pick that up. Or if you're hunting and you spot an animal, don't drop down, because that's the movement they pick up on. Just you see him, okay, just stand still for a minute. What's he doing? Can you drop down slowly and get closer? Whatever. Anyway, just don't be afraid to mess up, because you will learn so much by doing that, what you can and can't get away with, whatever species it is, whatever conditions there are. Just go for it.
Yeah, just go for it. And a lot of that, the mistakes and all that, just comes from experience, comes from time in the field, comes from not talking yourself off the mountain or away from the stock. And yeah, I just want to echo that, Ron. Like, the story with Hayden and the bull. We didn't get the bull. And obviously, if you hear that bugle at dark way down in the valley, man, it is so easy to just say, I'll come in here tomorrow. I got a mountain house waiting at camp. I'm tired. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry. Well, that's going to guarantee you're not going to get an opportunity at that elk. And if you drop in, it's not guaranteed that you're going to shoot it, but not dropping in is going to guarantee that you won't shoot it.
Exactly. What else? There's one thing I was going to say. So I never leave the house, the truck, whatever, without 100% expecting to shoot whatever animal I'm after. Like I'm confident. I think it's going to happen. And most of the time it doesn't. But I never go out without that attitude. I think that's important to have. But at the same time, don't get all depressed if it doesn't work out, because most of the time it's not going to. So you can't get yourself in a funk about, it didn't work. I'm never going to get one type of a thing. Because the other thing I like to say is every time that I don't get an animal is just one more time closer to when I do. So, like, every unsuccessful hunt just means you're getting closer to getting one.
I like that because it is easy to get down, and I've seen people get dark, and I really like that mentality part you brought up because I'm the same way. You know, I go out and I expect to fill the tag. Does it always happen? Of course, it doesn't always happen. Look at the bow hunting odds, right? It's not a friendly percentage game. But I just know that if the confidence is there, that's just one part of the checklist that's off the list. I can take care of that. I expect to fill a tag. And then you start acting like you're going to fill a tag, right? You hunt hard, you hunt smart. And when people ask, well, what are you going to do if you don't fill a tag in bow season? I don't know. That thought never crossed my mind because any energy to put into a plan B, I could be putting into my plan A. So I'm going to put all my eggs in the plan A basket and act like it's going to work out. But like you said, it doesn't always, but there's always something to learn. And really any day on the mountain's a good day on the mountain.
Absolutely. Like, I don't let myself get down, because if I'm out there in the woods, like, my spirits are way above where they are when I'm in town.
Right.
And I just enjoy all of it. So, like I said, I expect to get an animal, but if I don't, it's the way it goes. I had a good time. I'm out in nature and enjoying the mountains.
Yeah. 100%. That was one of the fun, and I don't mean to keep pumping Hayden's tires, but that was one of the fun things hunting with him is his mentality was so cheerful all the time. And man, when you find a hunting partner like that, who's just not getting dark, not getting down, because that stuff can be contagious. And I've been on some grind hunts, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. It's raining, it's cold, we're not seeing anything. And it's really easy to start falling into that. And if someone gets negative by you, then you kind of start, oh yeah, maybe they are right. Maybe we should come off the mountain. Maybe we should go dry out. But just maintaining that good attitude is so crucial to being successful, in my opinion.
It is crucial for yourself and also for whoever you're with.
Yeah.
If they might be down, you do whatever's needed to, pick them back up or encourage them. Like, hey, yeah, you missed 14 shots, but the next one you're going to get.
Yeah.
I like meeting the goat.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and at the end of the day, what really helps me is I try to never forget how lucky I am to be doing what I'm doing, where I'm doing it. So no matter how much of a grind the hunt turns into, man, I'm thankful I'm able to hunt still. I'm thankful I have the opportunity to hunt and just kind of use that to keep me grounded. Sometimes it works better than others, but that's kind of the card I got to play. Well, cool, Ron. Well, man, thanks again. I really appreciate it. Didn't mean to take up your whole night, but
no, it's been enjoyable. I don't even know what time it is. So
yeah, I don't know either, but I'm going to go find out because I think my wife made some chili. So
good deal. Well, enjoy your dinner, and we will hopefully people will enjoy this. It's just whoever you can talk into being a member of BOW, do it. It's a great family of people, and everybody sign up one member.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a good one to end on, Ron. I'm a super antisocial person, self-admittedly, but I have found a really cool network of people I'm really proud to call friends with Bo, and I'll advocate for that all day long.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Alex.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. Have a good night. Enjoy your weekend.
Sounds good.
Take care.